Welcome to the Anxious to Secure podcast. I'm Yula, your anxious attachment style coach, CEO of The Marriage Coach. I'll help you to finally stop overthinking your marriage or relationships by overcoming your fear of being left by a partner. Thought by thought, action by action, and now episode by episode. Why? So you can experience true, authentic, anxiety-free love and feel a lasting ripple effect in all areas of your life. Are you ready to become the best version of yourself? Hey you, welcome back to the Anxious to Secure podcast. This is episode 5. When your partner invalidates your feelings. Ooh, this is a big one, right? Who ever felt this way? Hands up. I don't know about you, but I felt this way kind of a lot of times, especially over the last years with my avoid partner. And there have been many times when I thought, I can't be even in this relationship, because so many times I've heard on social media over the last 2 or 3 years that if your partner invalidates your feeling, there's something seriously wrong in your relationship. And that really triggered my relationship anxiety and my attachment wound. And that made me feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't be in this relationship. My partner is wrong for me, and that kept me really spiraling. But let me tell you, relationships are not black and white. There's so many shades in between, and I think it's so important to talk about this. And just because there's this one thing that happens, doesn't mean he's not the partner for you and you're not meant to be. And this is a sign of a toxic relationship. I think it's a very, very common sign for someone who's avoided as a partner, that they can't really validate you. And that is not to make an excuse for them. It's more to say, hey, let me be curious. Let me try to understand who my partner actually is, where this is coming from, so I can understand it. And then I can see, what can I do about it? How can I go about it? How can I make sure I validate my own feelings and then express myself from a more grounded place? So let's jump into this episode. This is going to be a great one. So again, you say something probably and your partner is completely not taking you seriously. Like, what the F, right? I really want to talk about the triggers, those little sharp moments that can really send us spiraling. You're going to overthink your relationship and you're going to feel like there is something wrong with you. There's something wrong with your partner. There's something wrong with your relationship. And you just think like, oh my God, you have to Google this right now. You have to find out, maybe should I break up with him? Is this right or wrong? What should I say back? And you can save this episode for later, so you can know exactly what to do when your partner invalidates you. I'm going to give you like a step-by-step guide at the end of the episode on what you can do. And I want to talk you through an example of what I've experienced the other day and what helped me a lot. So I'm not sure about you, but for me, a trigger can really feel literally like holding a gun to my face. So you're unable to move. You're really frozen. At least I really freeze up in those moments. Some people go into their fight or flight, or I'm going into my freeze mode. So suddenly you're reacting completely insane. You're screaming. That's more the fight mode. Maybe you're saying things you would never say in any other situation, and you're really not recognizing yourself. I don't know if it's just me, but I used to, once when I felt really triggered, that was when I used to live with my partner in London, and we shared a room eventually. I threw the remote across the entire room because I couldn't handle my emotions. I couldn't handle my anger. And I'm not ashamed anymore of that, because now I know, hey, this was really wrong of me, but I now really understand why I did it and also how to not do this again. I already thought eventually, you know what, I need anger management courses, and I did understand what's going on at that time for me. Now I have so many tools to control my anger, to manage my anger, and to be in charge of my emotions. At that time, I didn't. Clearly, I didn't. So I felt so out of control. And it's that rush of emotions that hits you when something reminds you of your past. of your past pain and your fear. And that past can really be like within your early years of being born. So I want to share with you now my little example of how I felt invalidated just a few days ago. So I hurt my finger the other day quite badly, I would say. I was reaching out for the bathroom door in the evening and kind of crushed my hand. I was like screaming a little, and the pain was sharp and immediate. And then I went to bed during that night and I woke up, and during the entire night, I remembered I woke up a few times and I was always in pain. So what did I do? In that morning, I woke up and then talked to my partner and said, hey, I think there's something wrong with my finger. It really hurts. I think it's like, I didn't know the word for it. In German, it's called verstaucht. It's like when your finger is not broken, but it's like an in-between stage of something else. And I was said to my partner, I don't think it's broken, but I think there's something wrong with it. I think it's injured. And he kind of like smiled, laughed a little bit and said, I don't think it's broken. And I was like, no, I said, I don't think it's broken, but I think there's something wrong with it. I can really feel the pain. And he said, no, I don't think, you don't have to go to a doctor. And I felt like he was a little bit patronizing, brushing it down. And that really stung as well. And I felt like, why can't he just, I was just so angry in that moment. I felt very invalidated, like my pain didn't matter to him. I immediately spiraled into all of the worst kind of thoughts. Why wouldn't he just care about me? He doesn't understand how much this really hurts. What if it's actually something very serious? But if he thinks I'm just dramatic, maybe I'm like not important to him for him to just really care. Why can't he just, book me a doctor's appointment? You might think, hey, why don't you book yourself a doctor's appointment? But yes, that's a little bit of an annoying point here in Italy, because I can't really speak the language yet. I'm relying on him a lot for those kind of things. Another stuff that really bothers me, and I guess him as well, because I'm someone who likes to be independent, especially after my past, after I've learned how codependency can screw you up, and after I really worked hard on everything to shifting into like a more balanced relationship. Now back in Italy, I'm more reliant on him again. And that took some internal work as well over the last year for me to rely back on him and let him do things for me as well. So anyways, is your partner's inconsistent behavior or lack of reassurance driving you crazy? Guess what? That's not the real problem here. The real issue is your abandonment wound, the deep-rooted fear of being left behind. What if they leave? What if I'm not a priority? What if I'm actually not good enough? If you're ready to go from anxious to secure and stop overthinking everything they do, then I'll share with you all my secrets, how I went in just 6 months from anxious to secure. Head to the link in bio. You got this. So in that moment, I was like jumping to conclusions and having the worst kind of thoughts. And here's just a few things I did in that moment. I want to talk you through my 4R method that really helped me to process this trigger. And it's all about releasing your emotions, rewiring your beliefs, and reconnecting with yourself and reflecting on your shadows. To release, rewire, reconnect, and reflect. And this is a process I've developed over the last years, because I like concepts, because it helps me to memorize my healing process better, my transformational journey. And having something to grab and to remember is easier when I'm feeling very anxious. And these are really all the steps included that really help me to make a huge difference. So let me give you an example. So what did I do first? I started to release my emotions. I took a deep breath and I thought, I feel triggered right now. I feel uncomfortable and I really feel invalidated. Instead of reacting immediately, I stepped back. I took a pause, and it was morning time, and I know myself now that morning is a very stressful time for me. Even if there's nothing stressful about it, I need at least an hour to wake up, to be able to get to my senses, to have a little coffee or breakfast, depends, to have some water, to get into a good mood to rewire my brain as well and to start some positive thought. Because if I start on a very negative note, that's it. It's hard to then challenge my thoughts again. It's of course possible, but it's much harder. That the morning really sets the tone for the day. So I knew I had to pause. I wasn't going to go against what he was saying because I felt really triggered in that moment. And I was like, okay, I'm stressed right now and I feel anxious and I feel uncomfortable and invalidated. I need to just take a step back. So I know the moment you feel triggered, there's no point of saying anything, doing anything, because your prefrontal cortex is shut down. That means your logical part of the brain can't function right now and I can't think clear. So I have to take a step back, process my emotions, and then come back later to the situation. And that's what I did. I just went on with the morning. I was breathing through it. I was allowing the emotions to be there. I was allowing to be uncomfortable in that moment and just, be curious about where this sensation was showing up in my body. I felt like I was getting really hot in my body. I always have my anxiety like in my chest, really, and I felt like my fists were like tensing up. And then I started having a coffee, making a coffee for him. And as I was like also moving through the flat and walking, that also helped to kind of shift and release my emotions a little bit. And then I distracted myself a little bit with work and stuff. And later I thought about it and did this step 2, is rewiring your beliefs. And your beliefs are like your core beliefs, and challenging your thoughts. Challenging your thoughts is very important because it's a question like, what am I making it mean when he is having this response, when he's saying those things? I started to think he doesn't care about me. He wouldn't even bother checking with the doctor because he doesn't care. And I realized I was making it personal. I realized that just because he didn't want to book a doctor's appointment, that doesn't mean he doesn't care about me. Just because I was, wanting him to care about me, that doesn't mean doctor. Care could also mean, hey, you know what? I don't think you need a doctor. This is his way of care, perhaps, that's also possible. So really challenging and questioning your stories is very, very, very important for someone who's anxious attached, who easily jumps to conclusion, who always focuses on all the negative aspects. Also, if you would have been like me, very anxious, would have thought, yeah, let's call a doctor. I'm sure there's something wrong as well. I would have actually felt more anxious. That would have not soothed my anxiety. So I think that's a beautiful part about having a partner who's completely on the opposite spectrum and has different beliefs and values, because you can balance each other out. And it might trigger you in that moment, but it can actually balance your inner state out as well. So always remember that. And step 3 of my framework is reconnecting with yourself. Reconnect with your needs. So then I checked in with my needs, with my unmet needs. I wanted empathy. Asking yourself, what do I need here? I needed to be seen and heard. That's what I needed. What did I want to hear from him? I asked myself this question: what do I need? What do I really want? What do I want from him? And by asking yourself these questions, you can then give it to yourself. And I just said, you know what? This really sucks. Are you okay? Are you really in pain? I'm here for you. Just tell yourself these things out loud that you would love to hear from your partner, or even from your mother, from someone who loves you deeply. Like, treat yourself like you're the inner child, and it's like reparenting. Treat yourself like your best friend, and that can be so, so healing. You don't have to wait for your partner to validate you. You can validate yourself. A very, very powerful tool. And I reminded myself that I didn't need to depend on him to fulfill my own needs. I can do it myself. And that's a very hard step for anyone who's just starting their healing journey, their transformational journey towards a secure attachment style. But it's so good once you're starting this a few times. And I had a lot of rejection against it. I felt like this doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same if I say that. I want my partner to say these things. And I just want you to know that I get it totally. but I want you just to try it out. Because if you always want your partner to do everything for you, to be there, to be your everything, it will keep you stuck. And also just to be open-minded, just to try out different things, because I bet you've tried everything and it didn't work. So being open-minded, that can really, really, truly change your relationship. And then the last step, it's not a must, at least not the must in that situation. The first 3 steps are already everything you need in that moment. But the last, like a bonus step that you can do on your long-term healing journey. And that is actually reflecting on your shadows. So first of all, I ask myself, what is the exact trigger? What is the thing that makes me feel so pissed off? And the thing that made me feel very upset was the fact that I felt he was invalidating me. So what did I ask myself then? I was asking myself as a shadow, as a mirror, where am I invalidating myself? Because as someone who is anxiously attached or has anxious tendencies, you're abandoning yourself most likely, or have been your entire life, meaning you're also invalidating yourself. And that kind of beautifully ties in with step 3, with your unmet needs, is here. This is exactly what you need to do. You need to validate yourself more often. And it doesn't always tie 100% in with step number 3, but here in this case it does. So this is also something I just need to do more often. I have to make sure I feel seen more often. I need to look at myself more often and say, hey, you know what? You're doing an amazing job. I'm here for you. You can do this, not just when I feel triggered, but in general. Because if you have an anxious attachment style, you just want to be loved. You want to feel seen. You want to be validated. And if you give yourself this more and more, day by day, through tiny little interactions with words, with your thoughts, with actions, with the only 3 things that you can do: your thoughts, your actions, and also with your emotions, then everything can change. And you can heal your abandonment wound, you can heal your unworthiness wound, and you can shift towards a more secure attachment style. Wow, that was a powerful episode. I know it was much shorter, but I think this was so helpful. If you apply this framework every time you feel triggered, every time something happens, you can literally shift towards a secure version of yourself. Yeah, and by the way, if you want to go deeper, learn to reassure yourself, stop overthinking your partner's actions, stop waiting for his damn reply, stop feeling anxious when they are avoidant or distant or inconsistent. You want to check out my text anxiety course. It's a mini course. It kind of turned into a mega course, I must say, especially while it's still in the beta round, because it's super affordable. I think it's just 27 euros right now. I'm looking really for a handful of people only to go through this course so I can improve it and to make sure you create results even faster. So you can become secure even faster. And yeah, so if you want this course, head over to my Instagram and reply under any of my videos or post the word text anxiety. And also try to link this course on all the podcast platforms. So yeah, so ask yourself, when was the last time you felt invalidated? How did it make you feel? And what thoughts were running through your mind? And we talked about triggers. It's also so important to recognize the validation is key for relationships. I don't want to brush over the point that if your partner sucks in validation, and it's 100% okay, and that it's okay for him to validate you. So I quickly want to address that also. But what does it actually mean when your partner always invalidates you? So recognize that your partner often can't give you what you want, what you need, because they were not equipped with those tools growing up, like reassurance, validation, or physical touch. It's important to understand this is my partner who grew up with, and that's why he actually can't give me what I need. This is a key aspect of not taking things personal when he's not giving you what you need. This perspective really helped me a lot, to not take things personal and to detach from it. A very important part as well about becoming securely attached, to detach from his stuff. Understanding this made a huge difference, because asking myself, hey, what do I need? How can I fulfill my own needs? And then to communicate from a grounded place. And in future episodes, I will also give you more specific phrases perhaps you can say to your partner when you feel invalidated. I think that might be also helpful. But I often think it's more the inner work of working on your fears and your emotional state beforehand. And it's less about the words you say and a lot more about the energy behind this, how you say it. And the truth is, it doesn't matter who's really right or wrong. We all have different experiences, It doesn't matter if your partner should validate you more often or, if you should validate yourself more often. It's just that we are growing up in different environments. It's important to understand and recognize, hey, this is my partner. This is who he grew up. This is me. This is how I grew up. We all have our challenges. How can we now grow into a relationship that we can work on ourselves without hurting each other? And what can I do to work on myself? Because I can't change my partner. I can't tell him what he should do. I can't tell him he should become securely attached. I can only change myself. And as I mentioned already, I think my partner's calm nature balances really out my anxious tendencies. And that's what makes us so much stronger together, I think, as well. And if you ever felt like, hey, my partner's invalidating my feelings, remember to reflect on your needs first. Then you communicate very much more efficiently from a grounded place. Hey you, if you're tired of just listening to all the podcasts, reading all the self-help books, aren't creating the transformation you desire, it's time to take action. You'll have to check out my Anxious to Secure course, where I reveal all my secrets that help me to heal my anxious attachment style within just 6 months. 95% of our actions are driven by our subconscious mind. So even if you know you have to stop chasing, set boundaries, to focus on yourself, your subconscious mind is still stuck in fear mode. It's not enough to just know what to do. You need to rewire your mind. That's where your real transformation happens. If you want this, grab my Anxious to Secure course now. Comment blueprint under any of my Instagram posts or head to the link in bio. Meaning also to be patient with him, to be curious instead of jumping the gun already before knowing what's exactly going on. Before you unpeeling the layers, and jumping to conclusions, and judging him for his shortcomings, try to just be curious and ask questions. Maybe even learn about attachment theory and about the avoidant attachment style in case he is showing avoidant tendencies. And this can really shift your dynamic. So as a quick reminder, if you feel triggered, use the 4R method. Release, rewire, reconnect, and reflect. And you'll be so amazed how much clarity this can give you. And it's okay to have all the emotional experience you have. And it's okay to express your needs as well with your partner. But the most empowering thing you can do is to work on your needs, to give yourself what you need instead of always expecting your partner just to fulfill your needs. So if you like this episode, please share it with a friend, download it for later, and I love you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for being with me here today. Remember, change in your relationship starts with you. Thought by thought and action by action. If you love this episode and want to give me a virtual high five, please give me a 5-star rating wherever you're listening from. It really, really helps me to boost the podcast a little bit higher in the rankings so I can help even more people just like you. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.